Alright, to fill in the centerpiece here, where you can do it two ways. You can cut out the template right out of the plan sheet if you want to, and then just take your 3x4 piece of wood that you got and lay it down on there and just trace around it and cut it out. That's the simplest way to do it. I like to keep my plan sheets in order, so I'm going to keep it right on there, and I'm going to go ahead and just take measurements to get everything. So the first thing you want to do is, we have a center point here, we have a center point here, so we want to take our 1/4x3 and just get a center mark on that first thing, and then everything will work right from the center on off. 3-inch piece of wood, of course, is going to be 1.5 to the center, so I'll make a 1.5 mark there. Come to the opposite side of the piece, and we'll try and do this so we can spare as much wood as possible. We're going to use one of the bottom edges that are already flush for the bottom edge here, and that way we're only using exactly what we need, and you'll have that left over for another portion. So then you're just going to take a nice straight edge, make that center mark right down the sheet. I don't know if I'm off camera now or not, but try and get it in view so you can see what's going on. Alright, so we have our center. Speed square definitely helps things out. If you got something like this, that works out great. You want to just check your square. Looks pretty good to me. So then we're going to go ahead and set that right down in between. We know we got the clearance to do everything that we want to do, and then we're going to make this template right here. So the first thing you want to do is take your measurement from here to here, right down the center, and then we'll be able to put those marks right on the center of the wood from here up, and then we'll know exactly how long everything is going to have to be. Now I usually use the 1 as a 0 just to be a little more accurate. And it looks like I've got 4 7/8 for center. So from the bottom of the piece here, I'm going to measure up 4 7/8, which of course is going to be on my ruler, 5 7/8 for the marks. So we'll go 4 7/8 up. We'll just place a mark right there. We know that's the center. The top thing. Now we need to know our width. The widest part of the piece is up here, so we'll just take those measurements, and that's 2 inches. So now we're going to come to the top, where we made our very top of the center mark, and we're going to go 1 inch on each side. That'll give us the width of 2 inches. There's the inch, and there's the other inch. So now we got a 2-inch width across the top. I'll make those same marks on the bottom here, 1 inch off them, just so we can start drawing out the thing, and we won't cut anything until we get the whole template drawn out. That's the easiest way to do it. Okay, now I'll take my straight edge, and I'll draw 2 lines up to those. Use a pencil. I prefer a marker, type pen, or a Sharpie, or whatever works great. Be pretty precise with it. Okay, so now we have our 2-inch marks, and we're still coming from the bottom. So now the next thing we need to know is, after we get our sides here, we'll know exactly where our points are. So what we need to do is get the bottom measurement. And that looks like 1 1/4. So now that'll be 5/8. So I'll go to the very bottom and mark off 5/8 on each side. This time I'll make sure I start it in the right spot. So there's 5/8 there. And that's 5/8 there. So now basically we have all the measurements to get the angle of the inside piece. So I'm going to go ahead and that would be 4 3/4 for the side. So we already got that line. Maybe we'll be lucky and I'll be at 4 3/4. And there's 4 3/4 right there. And most likely that on the other side. So I'll mark that out 4 3/4. You just bring this up to where 4 3/4 touches the line, and you're good to go. And that was pretty much where we hit the line, so it works either way. Measurement is always better, more precise. And then you just mark out that 4 3/4 line there. So now we have the 2 sides that are drawn in to where we're going to be, and we got the top center and the 4 3/4 marks that we did. If you connect the center dots to those 4 3/4 marks, that should give you the angle right here. Nice and easy way to do it. So there's what we have for our angles on the piece. Now we want this little center square in here. So we measure that down, and that should be from the very point of your center line, which would be right here, and we're going to go straight down this way, and that is 7/8 to the edge. So we're going to take our ruler, put it on there, drop down 7/8, and from that point we can just move it up, making things a little easier and clearer. We know it's going to be a 1/4 inch piece. This is going to be for one of the 1/4 inch things, just like one of these balsa sticks. You got a 1/4 inch piece square, so you go down and make the 1/4 inch marks right there, and that's going to give you your width. Now if you have a speed square here, and as long as you haven't cut nothing yet, everything should be pretty square and straight. I'm just going to go ahead and make a couple hatch marks, and that'll give us our 1/4 inch width. And then from that point, we're just going to go over a 1/4 on the top line and the bottom line, so 1/8 on each side, 1/8, there's a 1/4, and down to the bottom line, and we go 1/8, there's another 1/4. Take your straight edge and connect those dots, and there's the centered squared piece right there. And we'll be cutting that out, and we're going to cut out the sidelines. So you just grab your blade. You can use a straight edge if you wish to. And I cut off the top part usually first, just so I don't have to carve anything down. And just cut it out. Nice light pressure with it, and you'll score it a few times with a nice sharp blade. That way you'll get a nice clean cut. If you try to press through it too hard, then you can end up denting the wood or whatever. So just make it nice and simple. And then you save the whole top part of the piece of wood for another thing. We'll cut out the sides. It should be an easier cut because it's going with the grain. As you can see, it's starting to take its shape now. So there should be the shape of the inside. Looks pretty good to me. So that's what's going to happen in there, and then you're just going to carve out the center piece here. When you're going across the grain, it's going to take you a little more time because you're going to have to probably pump the X-acto up and down. There's a couple different ways. However you like to cut a little square out of a piece of balsa wood is fine, but there's going to be a 1/4 piece, 1/4 by 1/4 piece of balsa going through this with some epoxy, so even if you're afraid a little, not to worry. Not going to be a big deal. And you can just start to pretty much pop it out. You can always check too by looking at the back of it. If you can see the lines all around it, you know you're through everywhere. If not, come back and put the lines through it. And that's really the hardest part of the whole thing, to get those measurements. Like I said, the easiest way is to just cut out the template, put it on your piece of wood, and cut it out from there. So now that'll fit right in there like so. And then we can go ahead and start the inside framing.